Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is precisely 5:30 p.m. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, this meeting is officially open with a quorum present. Let's please stand for the pledges. Our first and only recognition this evening as well was to be presented by Dr. Sutherland, but I'll take care of that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dr. Sutherland extends her regrets, but she's ill today. She wanted me to state that the Fort Worth ISD has a campaign of reminding students and parents of the importance of being in class every day. When students come to school, it all adds up quicker than you might think. This evening, I'm excited to introduce to you two people that aren't here, so I guess we'll move on. Why, thank you. Please tell Dr. Sutherland I tried. Moving forward to LEG. We're just going straight to reports now. 4A, 2017-18 budget update and 2018-19 proposed budget update. Ms. Shiro, are you ready to give your update?
Yes, I am.
And you're here.
I am here.
Thank you.
President Jackson, Dr. Scribner, and members of the board. I'm here tonight before you to present our final 18-19 budget update. We have talked about this now on 8 separate occasions, albeit workshops and or presentations, and I appreciate the board's input in this very tedious process this year. And so with that said, what I'm going to do initially is to step back and look at our current budget, and you basically have seen this before. I am projecting a negative variance at June 30th of 2018 of just nearly under $5 million. This is based on 77,974 students in average daily attendance. We've gotten some initial numbers, and actually that is very, very close. So I'm thinking that we're really close on the ADA. We may get a little additional in weighted ADA, but I will be updating that to the board in the near future. And so at year end, I'm looking at a fund balance of about $185 million. If we adopt this budget, about $38 million deficit, our unassigned fund balance will be $147 million, which is still 2.3 months of operating expenditures. We've looked at this before. There's been very little change in what our revenue estimates will be for 18-19. We're still looking at $38 billion in taxable property values. Our latest demographic numbers show that we will be down in enrollment and corresponding ADA. We're expecting 77,614 students in average daily attendance next year, and that our federal revenue basically will remain unchanged. We have a few increases with our SHARS MAC, but then a slight decrease in indirect costs, but we're looking at about the same federal revenue as we have in the current year. This is an overview. I am required by law to present to you the budgets by revenue object and by function. And so walking through this slide, and I know it's hard for the public to see this slide, but we have actually 3 funds that make up the general fund. We have Fund 197, which is basically our student incentive fund. We have no revenue into that account. We basically just have an expenditure of approximately $1.1 million next year. We're going to continue our incentive fund for students next year and then evaluate it at June 30 of 19. Next, we have Fund 198. That is the TRE. That is the 2-cent penny swap. We put 2 cents in the TRE, which brings in over $7 million in local and approximately $16.6 million in state. So in the TRE fund, we're going to have just under $24 million again this coming school year, and we're only expending $10.6 million of that next school year. And finally, we have the general fund. We will have $731.5 million in the revenue and corresponding $781 million in expenditures and or appropriations. And so when you look at the combined, and I have to show you this, so we have a combined total of revenue of $755.2 million in revenue and right under $793 million in appropriations. So we're looking at a $37.7 million deficit. With unassigned fund balance, I am still projecting that we will have over 2 months of operating expenditures at year-end June 30th, 2019. This is the debt service fund. We've talked about that. This is to pay principal and interest on our bonds. The 2-cent penny swap has worked well. With the increased taxable property values, we were able to swap 2 cents and still have enough revenue in local and state to pay our bond principal and interest. So in essence, this is a break-even budget for the 18-19 school year. Well, where revenue that is coming in equally discharges the principal and interest on the payment of our bonds for next year. And finally, we have the proposed child nutrition fund. We're going to be having approximately $56 million in revenue with a corresponding about $51.4 million in expenditures. And we're looking at a ending fund balance of a little under $10 million. I should note on all of these fund balances, these are unaudited. We have to go through an audit process, and those figures will not be brought to the board until approximately October. So these are estimates only and are unaudited. And so finally, I have presented to you and have given you a sheet. This is basically what the funds, 3 funds look like by revenue, object code, and by function that I will be asking the board to approve after a public hearing on June the 26th. So that we can then proceed into the new school year. And so with that, I will take any questions. I should note, and if I didn't say it, it is based upon a 2% pay increase. That's the directive that I received from the board at the workshop last week, and also a beginning teacher salary of $53,000. All right. Any questions?
Trustee Robbins.
Thank you, President Jackson. The TRE funds each year, will that go up and down depending on what?
Yes. The TRE funds will adjust, and in all likelihood, they will go up because property values are going up, so we will have an increasing amount of local tax revenue, and that will adjust the state revenue slightly. But yes, it'll be going up annually, so I'm predicting a little under $24 million, but as the years progress and if we see the steady increase in our values, yes, that amount will go up, Mr. Robbins.
Thank you.
Ms. Shara, looks like that's the only question.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everything.
Thank you for your report and all the hard work on this budget. We know that you are understaffed in your department and setting a wonderful example.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll move to 5 on our agenda, Lone Star Governance, College, Career, and Military Readiness. Dr. Scribner, would you like to say just a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much, President Jackson, members of the board. As you know, our 3 goals, early literacy, middle years mathematics, and college and career and military preparedness. We spent a lot of time focused on presentations with regard to our partnership with Read Fort Worth, on the reading initiative, also our middle years math data. We have received, and we're pleased with that. We'll be presenting that to you later this summer. Tonight will be the first of 3 presentations looking at our college and career military preparedness initiative. Step 1, we're going to be narrowing our focus and aligning our resources so that we can streamline and do college and career and military preparedness differently, and particularly with our programs of choice, so we can operate those more effectively and efficiently, as we've talked to you about over the last year or so. So this is step 1 in that process, and I'll turn it over to our Chief Academic Officer, Charlie Carroll.
Good evening, Dr. Scribner, President Jackson, member of the Board of Trustees. If you'll recall, this process started way back in 2016. Some days it seems like it's been longer, but it was 2016 when we started this whole process of putting together facilities master plan, working with Engage to Learn, and looking at what we needed to do to meet the mandate that was put out at the very first meeting when we met with over 100 parents, community members, students, principals, teachers, all over at the PDC, when they were asked very directly, what are the highest aspirations you have for your own children and the children of the district? And the answer for that was for those students to leave our buildings at the end of their time with us prepared to succeed in whatever they decided to do. The person who is most directly in charge of many of those plans is David Sines, who is Executive Director of College Career and Military Readiness in Fort Worth ISD, and he will be walking you through the first of several reports on college career and military readiness so that you can get a better handle on what our situation is now and where it will be moving to in the 18-19 and 19-20 school years. So without any further delay, I'll turn it over to David and let him work you through the slides that we have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Good evening, President Jackson, Dr. Scribner, members of the board, and the Fort Worth ISD community. As has been said, I'm here to begin this series of presentations focused on our college, career, and military readiness programming. The presentation today will focus on our current state of programming. Part 2 will focus on efficiencies that must be reviewed in order to move resources into a systemic approach to programming. And Part 3 will focus on the process for planning and a vision for the future of CCMR programming in Fort Worth ISD. As you know, the Texas Education Agency is paying more attention to outcomes past the STAR assessment. As a refresher to the ever-changing TEA accountability system, you may recall that Domain 1 includes student performance on STAR and graduation rates. The third portion of that rating is college, career, and military readiness for our students. We will be given a rating based on our success in preparing our students for post-secondary outcomes based on the earning of dual credit, AP qualifying scores, licensures, military entrance, among other things. The following slides will provide an update on where we stand in our continuous improvement journey in this area. The Department of College, Career, and Military Readiness was formed for the purpose of aligning our resources and creating opportunities for success of our students. We are focused on providing a system of equity and excellence focused on adaptive changes. In the data, you will see success and you will see opportunities for improvement. Of those opportunities for improvement, there is none greater than the equity of our programming across our district. As Dr. Scribner says, all means all. So let's get started. There we go. What you see in slide number 4 is our college data according to the recent report for the National Clearinghouse that came out April 2018. What you'll notice in that chart, I'll summarize it by saying that 53% of our students in Fort Worth ISD attend a post-secondary institution, whether it's a 4-year or 2-year university. Most of the students stay in Texas and attend public universities. There is also a strong financial impact of a college, career, and military readiness program for our families. In 2017, that turned out to be over $65.5 million in scholarships and grants. This year, the tally is still going, but as of last count, we are close to $92.5 million that our students have earned this past school year. Our students are doing a great job. Our team of educators that wrap around these students are doing a great job in helping students secure this money to offset the cost of their education. Saving money also comes in the form of dual credit. We enjoy over a 90% passing rate in dual credit classes. Fort Worth ISD has seen an increase in credits earned over the last 3 years. A 14% increase to 5,284 hours in 2016-2017, to over double that percentage growth between 2016 and 2017 at 34%. This past school year, our students earned 7,098 hours of college credit in high school. As we know, every credit hour translates into money saved for our families. So you saw the scholarship money. This is also money in the pockets of our families. We also know from research that students who earn dual credit in high school are twice as likely to earn a post-secondary degree in a timely fashion, and the earning of credit hours is the key for our students and for our performance on the new accountability system as well. The following graph is the hours earned by our comprehensive campuses, sorted from least to greatest by the hours earned this past school year, which is the blue bar in this bar graph. We have shown an increase of students earning these hours. We should celebrate that increase, but as I said before, all means all. In this slide, we clearly see opportunities for adaptive changes to our programming. The data does not lie. A healthy system does not have these types of trends. Alignment in our district around a set of expectations for collegiate programming will be established with state and local norms for access and performance. I will note that a successful strategy that has been employed at Dunbar and O.D. Wyatt, as you can see, an increase from the greens back in 2015-2016. That strategy is the embedding of early college high school programming into the school system. The early college high school model is one that we will continue exploring as a way to increase equity in our system. Excuse me. Advanced placement is another opportunity for students to earn college credit. Most importantly, it is an opportunity to be challenged with rigorous coursework. Participation in AP has increased in Fort Worth ISD since 2013. Our Hispanic students have shown the most growth in taking our AP courses. All other groups have remained at the same level. That particular fact is also a focus as we move forward. Access to these courses should be equitable and available to all students that want to take them. Steps are being taken now to address this fact. As an example, as we grow into our common schedule, we will be able to offer distance courses, share teachers between classes, and offer online options in order for all students to have access to an AP experience. Students participating in AP that has shown that students who are in these courses are more likely to graduate from a four-year institution. While participation has increased, our performance on these exams has decreased. It is important to note that we test all students in AP classes. Participation is important, but we want all our students to be successful. An important factor to look at it is and in this fact is how we use our funds. All students should have the opportunity to test. I think some important issues to ponder as we move forward is, could we set up a system to provide more support for our teachers that deliver these courses instead of paying for every exam? Should we invest in ensuring that rigor is present in the classrooms while also providing more supports for students so that they can be ready to take these exams? Answering these questions will be a focus as we move forward in our planning and as we review opportunities for efficiencies. Our CTE enrollment. Our collegiate coursework is only a part of this story. Our CTE programming is creating opportunities and success for students every year and every single day here in Fort Worth ISD. Our CTE program is not vo-tech. In fact, our community clearly spoke during our strategic planning with Engage to Learn that they wanted a system with strong college and career options and that they were both equally valued. CTE enrollment in Fort Worth ISD has increased over the last 3 years, if you notice by the blue bar that is in front of you. In this chart, you see the total enrollment that is also in red. This year, we hit 60.9% of our students enrolled in at least one CTE class. That is a 5% increase over last school year. As we move to establish these local norms that I've spoken about to guide our system, we will use a number of 70%, for example, as a target measure. Enrollment in CTE is key to having students work towards a credential. Enrollment in CTE also brings weighted funding to support these types of courses. We know that our economy is demanding high-skilled people to take on high-wage jobs. These jobs will break cycles of poverty. Recent research findings also show that taking one CTE class for every 2 academic classes minimizes the risk of dropping out for our students. So it's not only going to be money in their pocket in the future, but it'll help them graduate from high school. Local employers are also heeding the call. There's not really a week that goes by where a local employer doesn't reach out that wants access to our students, that wants to help train our students to support the local job market. And that is evident by recent trips by our students to Lockheed Martin, to Sewell Lexus, and to the city of Fort Worth. The next slide is about coherent sequence takers. The following data shows a percentage of students that are enrolled in a sequence of CTE courses. Enrollment, as shown in the previous slide, is good, but staying in a sequence is better. This is important for students because this is the one way that they will be able to take and be successful on a certification exam. That is because the certification exam usually occurs in that third course in the sequence. It is also important because we receive credit on state accountability for every student in a sequence of courses. We can't treat these courses as traditional electives. This is a course of study that is good for all students. As a district, we have 55.3% of enrolled students in a coherent sequence. So out of that 60.9% that I talked about, 5% are enrolled in a sequence. Once again, the chart also shows that this varies across campuses. Since my arrival in January 2017, we have worked to align our system and the expectations of our programs. In establishing local metrics, we are shooting for a target of 45% of students at each campus enrolled in a coherent sequence. We have met that as a district, but not on a campus-by-campus basis. This is consistent with state and national data for large districts. We still have work to do, but we are headed in the right direction. As we move forward, we look towards efficiencies and keeping our programs aligned to the needs of the workforce. On one of my next presentations, we'll cover that topic. Now on to certifications, which is the end goal, of course, with graduation and going on to college. The goals of our CTE program are to provide our students with the skill sets necessary to succeed in college and career. As I mentioned before, CTE is not a VOTEC program. It is a college and career preparation program. These skills should also lead to an industry credential. This has been the main focus of our new CTE team. As you can see, we have seen some great increases in students taking and succeeding in earning a credential. We experienced a 21% increase in credentials earned between 2015 and 2016 school year, and a tremendous 93% increase in credentials earned between last school year and this school year. That number is represented in gold. The blue is a number of exams challenged. So we saw growth in both areas, meaning students are leaving with credentials in Microsoft Office, students are leaving credentials as pharmacy technicians and PCTs as well, and many opportunities for our students to receive these credentials and go on to take jobs to support their education. And last but not least, is our JROTC program that I feel encompasses all the aspects of our district mission statement. Lieutenant Colonel Crosley and his team have created the premier JROTC program in the country. As you can see, enrollment in this program has grown from 1,749 students in 2016 to 2,385 students this past school year. The students in this program consistently outperform the population at large with higher graduation rates, higher GPAs, greater average scores on national assessments like SAT and ACT, and usually upwards of 97% attendance rates. This is not a military recruitment program. This is a leadership program focused on the development of youth, and I want to congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Crosley and his team for the continued effort. In review, we are making progress. The data says we have to operate differently to take advantage and capitalize on the opportunities we have seen. We shall proceed with that information. We won't ignore the equity issues present in our system. Together with our staff and this board, we will confront them courageously and with purpose. We will work to eliminate costly technical changes to fund an adaptive system focused on equity and excellence. On a personal note, this means a lot to me, to my mission as a person. This is my dream job. You see, I was raised in a single-parent family by my late mother. She was also a teacher for 35 years in our small town. We lived in this small town by the border, and I knew early on that because I lived in a small town with a graduating class of 50, that I may not have the opportunities that other students had. At that point, I made the decision to leave home at 16 and challenge myself. I was admitted to the Texas Academy of Math and Science in Denton, which is about 10 hours away from where I live. It was the toughest thing I ever did as the coursework was tough and I couldn't go home due to lack of funds. It challenged me because it pushed me to my breaking point because my little school did their best, but I was not ready. I was told I should go back where I came from because I didn't have it. I ended up graduating there with 64 hours of college at the age of 18 and attended the University of Texas. The reason this work matters to me is because where you live shouldn't dictate your opportunity. A student shouldn't have to leave their home or their home campus, in this case, to experience success. We have wonderful schools in every part of this district, and I truly believe that. I've seen it in the eyes of our students when I was an executive director in leadership, and they want more from us. They want more from our programming. We have wonderful opportunities for our students that I only wish I had available. It is our mission to make sure that all students can benefit from them. That will be unapologetically the mission of this department. After all, we are here to prepare all students for success in college, career, and community leadership. Thank you for your time, for allowing me to present. I look forward to coming back for the next two presentations, and I'll pass it back to Mr. Carroll.
I believe Mr. Sines and I would be happy to answer any questions about this initial installment that any of you may have.
Great. Thank you for a great presentation. And the first trustee that has questions is Trustee Ramos.
Mr. Sines, thank you very much. I remember this presentation a couple of years back where I did everything I could to not lose my cool, because it was the one where we were talking about what was happening in Diamond Hill, and that it seemed to me that everything was stereotypical tracking, that I could almost, if you could tell me what programmings were happening in the schools, I could almost tell you the ethnicity of the child, which I've seen major changes in growth. And so I've got to begin with that. The other one is the way you've presented the material. Thank you. It's really good for me to interpret. My first question is this. I'm part of University Crossroads, and one of the conversations that I'm privy to is that our K through 12 systems are not always aligned with colleges and universities. So when some of our young people are coming out with what they believe is college credit, then they enroll at a university, and then they're told that the credit is not going to count. And so then they've done AP testing, or they've done dual college credit, right? And so that's one where I know that I, as a parent, had to help my son navigate as we were getting him ready for the university level. What is the current state of Fort Worth ISD and us in that conversation? Are we in it? And if we are, then what are we proposing to get that alignment with colleges and universities in the area?
Well, I think we're definitely in the conversation with our different P16 councils, University Crossroads being one of them. With AP and College Board, it depends on the university. We don't have too much control of that and how much credit they take. However, with dual credit, the state has passed several laws that really don't allow us to take any type of credit that wouldn't transfer to a state school, mind you. Once they leave the state, it depends on that school. But we don't offer those courses in dual credit to that would not transfer. Now, in order to make sure that our parents are informed, bringing in the counseling department into the college and career readiness umbrella is what's going to make it key, because that alignment, that P16, which I think is more EC through 20, is where we'll develop this framework in which we know that at different points in the child's career, and also a parent's career as a parent, we inform them of certain steps that we are responsible to provide, whether it's as early as pre-K or, in freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. So as you mentioned, alignment of all these systems is the key point, but we are definitely in the conversation, and we want to make sure that we inform our families of what is possible.
I'm pleased to hear that we're in the dialogue, and then also that hopefully, as we're looking at systemic alignment, that our counselors are equipping our students with the most accurate information. I know that that's been a hard conversation to have when a parent thinks that their child has X amount of college credit, and they get there and they find out that they actually don't. So the money we anticipate saving them actually doesn't always happen.
Yes,
next one is the dual college credit by campus. I noticed that there was some jumps in some campuses, and then there were some dips in others. Just briefly, do you mind kind of helping us understand, like I'm looking at Heights and Pascal, they took a dip, Trimble Tech, but then you have O.D. Wyatt, which is great success, obviously, and other campuses seem to have had some major jumps. Any reason? Is that because of AP testing? AP courses? What's happening there?
There could be various factors. With regards to dual credit, you have to pass the TSI assessment in order to take the dual credit, and so there's somewhat of a test before you even start. So that could be a factor. Another factor is if we don't have embedded teachers at the campus, the students have to leave the campus and travel to TCC. and that could be a factor as well. I think a combination of these was taking effect sometimes at campuses. I will say, you brought up ODY, and also I will call attention to Dunbar. There was there was some growth there from back in 2015. A lot of that has to do with those two campuses' focus on opening an early college high school and opening a P-Tech academy in the future.
Gotcha.
And that I think can be an answer to some of our challenges when it comes, as you can see, some of our schools over here on the left side of the chart could benefit for something like that. And then all in all, we are making efforts to support our students in TSI. In fact, the contract that was just approved for our web-based learning program includes TSI prep for all students in 6th through 12th grade. And so we're building that system. And so another opportunity there is to continue to recruit teachers that have their master's degree so they can teach as embedded professors at the home campus.
Okay.
And another effort that you'll hear about, and hopefully in the next meeting, June 26th, is on-ramps. On-ramps is a partnership with the University of Texas. We currently have 1,600 students registered for these courses, 2,300 courses out of the University of Texas, to also receive dual credit. So there's some other efforts that are already taking place, but it is a work in progress. These numbers are not what we should see.
Okay. Final one, if I may, President Jackson, is the AP placement participation in the performance slide. If this is for me, just to know, I hear conversations that certain campuses may have high participation but don't necessarily have high number of students actually passing their courses, right? I hear rumors of how certain campuses will have other ethnic groups pass at higher rates than others. So I was just wondering if maybe we could if I could get a glimpse of what those look like by high schools,
Okay.
by campuses. Because I love how you presented the one with the dual credit by campus. I'd also like, if it's possible, to see an AP placement by campus.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, President Jackson.
Thank you, Trustee Ramos. Trustee Robbins?
Thank you, President Jackson. And thank you for these updates. They're very important to us. You mentioned a little about industry input. I'm interested, I want to make sure that we're being responsive to our local businesses, and when they come to us and say we need this, that, and the other, that we at least investigate the possibility of providing that. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
On how we approach that?
How we do that?
So for one, I have a local advisory board that is made up of members from the three main chambers in Fort Worth, and also the three, well, 4 presidents from the TCC system, along with business members. That's one way that we get information. The Office of Strategic Partnerships out of Ms. Griffith's office also keeps us in close contact with those partners when they contact Peg Murphy. She also passes them on to us, and we respond pretty quickly. These are all great opportunities. Just like I said, just recently, Sewell Lexus was one of them. We also, and I forget the name of the company, there was a pharmacy tech firm that reached out to us, and they were able to take 5 interns for the coming school year. This is an area that is actually a growth point for us. In a city this big, we shouldn't have the small numbers of interns that we have. It should be blowing up. This is, once again, an opportunity. Not growing up in a small city, we have it here. And so we intend to grow that with the program. If you're familiar with VitalLink, that program has been in middle school. We intend to blow that up to include high school, to include summer internships and local internships. As an aside, Lockheed Martin will be taking our first 5 interns this coming year as well.
Wonderful. And also, I noticed there are a lot of programs where you can make a wonderful living, like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and so on, that aren't included in our, at least I didn't see them.
That's correct. HVAC is not. We do have electrical and some of the construction trades, but HVAC is something that we're exploring with TCC to use some of their facilities during the school day. Since they don't use them during the day as much because they use them at night, we're kind of testing that with construction when we'll send students to TCC to take on some more construction programs that are not necessarily available, because we have 4 construction programs, but we have more high schools than that. And so we're partnering with them to provide those opportunities hopefully in the near future.
And plumbing?
Plumbing, that's something that we'll continue exploring. It used to exist, but the enrollment was so low, so we had to make a decision to reduce that program. But we will continue to explore it depending on the job market needs. Right now, it's been more of a request for welding and just general construction management.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Robbins. Mr. Sines, I just have a couple of questions on page 12 with certifications. First, in looking at the certifications, if you extract from Adobe all the way down to Microsoft, about 34% of this total list are those certifications. They comprise 42% of the total pass rate. Are we looking at pass rates not only per campus, but per certification, and trying to drive those?
Yes, ma'am.
Or looking at them and seeing they're maybe not something that our kids want to take?
Yes, ma'am. Now, this is, let me just say that this is the first year that we have really embarked on an effort to make sure all our students are testing so they can provide this opportunity. That wasn't necessarily a mandate in the past. And we are getting better at supporting our teachers with that as well. The teachers are going to get certified themselves so they can learn the program. But no, we definitely do we definitely do look at the percentage of students passing in each level. And some of the numbers you'll see is the Adobe programs, the programs that offer Microsoft are our biggest programs in our schools. Some of the smaller numbers are smaller programs like our medical programs and things of that nature. But this has been a learning year, but it's been a great start in the increase itself of numbers of students passing and taking exams. But a 41% passing rate is not something to necessarily jump up and down about, but it is something that we do pay attention to and how we can, like I mentioned about AP, preparing our teachers and our students to be successful in those exams aside from just taking them at the end of the year.
Right. And I had another question. If you look at pass rates versus tests taken, for 15-16 it was about 61%. If you divide that out, for 16-17 another 61%, but this last year was 40%. I think you just answered my question. You pushed the test taking.
Right. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Because before it was if you wanted to or if the teacher felt like it was something they should do. In this case, it's something that we owe them, I think, and prepare them for.
I think that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Trustee Christine Moss.
Thank you, President Jackson. I just have a couple of questions. The certifications, is it a state requirement for students to graduate with a certain number of certifications or at least one certification?
At least one on from the list that they've determined, as we call the sacred list. And that hopefully that list grows because I believe there's only about 58 on that list, at least one of those. And with regards to the measures, it can be that or it can be dual credit. As long as they get one of those, they get credit for college and career readiness.
So each one of our graduates either have a certification or dual credit?
That's it. They should have dual credit, AP, or CTE licensure. That's their goal.
Senior that graduates?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not there yet.
I know. That was the question. That was the question. So how far away are we? Where are we?
I don't have that number, but I can figure out where we are now that we're gonna get the measures and cutoffs for those metrics from the state. We can probably provide a better list of where we are for this graduating class.
So we are not penalized for not meeting that standard?
Well, it's a matter of adding points up. So we could be penalized because those points add up to a certain percentage and then they determine where the cutoff is.
Okay. So long as I guess we are moving forward.
Yes, ma'am.
This was a great report. I, like my colleague, Mr. Ramos, I would like to see the advanced placement participation by school, because I know before we had a really low, low participation in several of our high schools. Okay.
Ms. Moss, it is important to note, in addition to what David said, that in our new accountability system, as he noted when he started, that these numbers have now become part of Domain 1 in our new accountability system. So it's not things that set aside anymore over here. Your licensures, certifications, AP, IB numbers, all of those things are things that will directly impact the district and campuses when we get our accountability numbers back as well. So it is important at that level too.
Right, so it's to our benefit.
Very much so.
To make sure that we are reaching the goals.
Yes, ma'am.
So that our domains will be, because we want to be AB schools. So I know you're working hard toward that. And the last question I had, dual credit. I was looking at the matrix, but I'm not sure if this is my thinking, and I don't think it's right. But does it have anything to do with enrollment? Any of the percentages? Does it have anything to do with enrollment when you look at
Which chart are we looking at?
the chart on page, okay,
7.
page 7?
Does it have anything to do, no, that's just simply, these are just simply the
The
college
numbers.
hours earned. Now, you would see a lower number if the student enrollment is lower. If you have a smaller student population, you have less students maybe taking dual credit.
Okay.
But this is simply, most of our campuses tend to be around the same enrollment, for the most part. And so
Well, I
this
was
is just,
thinking about like Diamond Hill and Dunbar, some of them with the lower enrollment. And maybe it doesn't, but that was just my thinking.
I see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Moss. Trustee Sims?
Thank you. My question has to do with a follow-up on something that President Jackson asked. Pass rates, tests taken. What do we do to monitor and track our students who have to take state exams to practice their craft after graduating with a CTE course?
Right.
What do you have to follow up those students and make sure that they have gotten what they need out of Fort Worth ISD to pass the state test? Because if they can't pass the state test, they still cannot practice that particular craft.
Yes, sir. Our licensure is our main goal, and there's a combination of factors that we're addressing. One is a curriculum for these courses, so that we know where we're going. That curriculum is based on what our community partners tell us. You know, we are teachers in the classroom, although most of our teachers came from industry. They haven't been back in industry in a while. So we depend on that. That's one thing. The second thing is partnering with our teachers and offering interim assessments to our students to see where they're at along in the process. Most of our courses are designed with skill development and project-based learning. And so a lot of that, our teachers who were professionals before in most of these fields, they look at that and they provide feedback to the students based on that. So those are two of the ways that we address it.
Well, what I'm concerned about, do we keep our hands on them? If I graduate with a certification in something that requires a state test, after I take the test, do you know whether or not I passed the test? Or
Yes, sir.
is there a remedial or some way for me to come back and get a refreshed course to take the test again?
It depends on when you
Many
take.
times, even with lawyers and pharmacists, doctors, they have to take a state test. And many times they don't pass it the first time. So what I'm trying to see is, what do our kids do in case they don't pass? Do we encourage them to come back and let us provide you with some help to pass that test? What are we doing to assure that they know that they can come back for some assistance?
So one thing we did this year was to encourage our students to be tested by April in order to have another month or so to retake it. That wasn't, with the way testing is during those months, it wasn't as successful, but we do have students that are taking this test multiple times already. Now, whether they come back or not, one thing that's not something we have done. I know we do it for our students that are going into pharmacy technicians, because I think they have to be 18. So we do provide a voucher for them to take and use after they even leave us in that way. But we haven't had students come back to retake assessments. Usually, we're trying to build a system where we can do it in the school year so we don't lose them. We don't have the setup that TEA does for STAR at this moment.
Well, I would encourage that we provide them with information that they can come back and maybe take a refresh course, because if they don't get that test, they wasted the time of passing where we have to present. So I don't know what and how we could do it, but that's something that I would like for us to put into our thinking.
Thank you for the input.
And I appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much.
Trustee Needham?
Thank you, President Jackson. Mr. Sines, this is a wonderful report. I don't remember seeing one with the graphs and all that are as telling, as informative as this one. I was looking at the pages 8 and 9, the advanced placement, participation, and performance. What are we doing to that the African American, I guess, is down, and I think the Anglo's down. What are we doing to build up the success of passing rate on these?
On the passing around the exams?
Yes.
So some of the things we do offer now is we do have what we call Super Saturdays, which we have at least five, I think it's 5 of those a year, where all students in Fort Worth ISD are invited to come and essentially engage in a study session on Saturday. In addition to that, our teachers do have the expectation of providing not only what you call tutoring sessions, but small mini camps at their own campuses for their students to pass these exams. One thing that we have not necessarily done, but are planning to do, is how we locally credential our teachers and prepare them to be AP teachers, and not just say, well, you're an AP teacher now. Our teachers try really hard and they want to do the best for their students. We need to provide them the tools necessary to accomplish that. But as of now, those are the few things we do, which is, you know, an opportunity for improvement, as we can see from the performance of our students.
On page 13, the JROTC Programming.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the enrollment as robust as it should be?
I don't have enough information to answer that. I would say that when looking at the many programs the way I do and the way Lieutenant Colonel Crossley does, and the number of students we have in high school, I would say no. It's not as robust as it should be. I want to see more students doing the pass and review over at Farrington, and that'd be a nice sight. But I believe there is room for growth.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Luebanos?
Thank you, President Jackson. On page 12, do we know how many students who finish culinary arts are going and getting a job in the food service, or if they get a certification in Microsoft? How many of those students are getting a job on those certifications, and are we keeping track, or are they enrolled in a university in that specific field?
As of now, we don't have a system to collect that data. It's mostly self-reported, but that is one of the initiatives that we want to do to keep track of where they're going. As I mentioned, an EC through 20 system to not only know where they went, but also maybe support them when they come back with jobs, whether it's here in Fort Worth or even in Fort Worth ISD for our students to study to be teachers. So as of now, we don't, but we are building towards that.
So we have all these programs, like we have culinary arts in North Side, we have in JROTC, South Hills, and I think on the East Side. But how many of those people are actually getting a job in that field?
Right.
Is that something we should continue to grow, or do we need to grow something else where people are getting the best job?
Yes, sir. I will say, while I don't have that data, for the majority, if not all the programs, have been looked at to make sure that they're connected to the job market and what's currently available. And culinary arts and hospitality is a huge job market that is needing that support. So while I don't have where our students are going, I know the need is there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may, President Jackson, thank you very much, Mr. Luebanos. That is something that we should track, but we should track it also with an open mind. I remember one of my first visits to a cosmetology classroom as a new superintendent, and asked the young lady who's a senior if you have a job lined up for graduation, you're going to work in a salon, and she said, no, I'm going to go to the University of Arizona Medical School. But my parents don't have a lot of money, so I wanted to get skills so I can get a job on the side while I'm going to school. So we certainly want to prepare our students for success in college and career and have both options be quality options. I think you're right. We need to monitor that to make sure that we are not overpopulating the market in one area or another, but I think we have great room to grow in all areas. But certainly we'll be coming back to the board with additional data in presentations 2 and 3.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. It's the most comprehensive I believe we've ever had, and it looks like things are going in the right direction, which is really cool. It's great for our kids.
Thank you.
This time, we will hear public comment. Let me remind you that because of restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but the board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with 1, a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or 3, direct the person to visit with staff about the issue. While the board listens to concerns of a general nature and issues of common and individual concern, the board will not hear complaints about specific individual employees or public officers during the public comment session. Speakers shall refrain from mentioning names of individual employees or public officers during their comments. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. In accordance with board policy BED local, speakers shall have a 3-minute time limit, and we ask that you please observe this rule. At this time, Juan Tercios, who I know as Carlos Tercios.
Well, it doesn't fit. All right. All right. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Madam President Toby Jackson, and Superintendent Dr. Scribner. I am here on public comment to discuss a topic, which is bus transportation. One of the custodians came by and told me an idea that he thought about when he went to pick up his kids. That day he was picking up his kids, it was raining, and the students that he also saw were under a tree. He pondered for a while about what innovation could be done in ensuring safety, protection, and comfortability for all students in the district. He brought up an idea to create bus stop shelters. But with bus stop shelters, the kids can feel safer when it comes to picking up the kids and bus when the buses arrive. It also makes them to be in an environment where they can also relax and, of course, wait for the bus. It's an interesting project to think about, and a project that hopefully y'all take in consideration, maybe in future ideas or in future projects. But I think it will also bolster the image of the Fort Worth Independent School District, not only in this area, but also throughout the entire state, as it will bolster your image and, in innovation and futuristic projects when it comes to security, safety, and also comfortability for students. It will also ensure, safety, and also it will actually make you get ahead than other districts. And I can assure you that other districts in the state of Texas or throughout the country will be saying, "Oh, that's a very, I wanna get that idea." How dare they get that idea? You know what? Let's go get that idea and make our own. So it's a good idea, and I hope you take in mind in consideration in future projects, or maybe in a future school bond. Maybe in 2 years, 4 years, but I brought this idea so you can think about it. Maybe when you're leaving right now in 3 hours or 4 hours, or maybe right now when you're probably thinking about it right now. But it's a idea. Think about it and just maybe bring it up one day. Thank you.
Carlos, you are extraordinary, and I'm so proud that you're here tonight, but I'm just proud that you're in Fort Worth ISD. You've done a lot for us. Thank you. Jamie Fisher.
Thank you, Dr. Scribner, President Jackson, and members of the board for allowing me to speak. My name is Jamie Fisher, and I represent the Texas chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I am also the mother of a child who attends school in the district. We appreciate the work this board and this district are doing to create a safe learning environment for our students and staff. It is so important that our children are free to be kids in their schools and that they can go to school without the fear of gun violence hanging over their heads. But in light of Governor Abbott and TE's suggestion that we increase the school marshal program in Texas schools, we need to really think carefully about school safety and our approach to freeing our children from the epidemic of gun violence. The answer is not to appoint more educators, people who are often already overextended to carry guns. Our teachers don't need, nor do the majority of them want, to be doing double duty as sharpshooters and armed guards. Teachers aren't professionals who are trained to carry guns as part of their employment, and no amount of training is going to fully prepare our teachers to respond to an active shooter situation. Arming teachers will make it more likely that there is an unintentional shooting or that a child accesses a gun. In fact, we know even highly trained professionals make mistakes. The basic peace officer course in Texas requires at least 643 hours of instruction, while the school marshal training is an initial 80 hours. We know that research already casts significant doubt on the idea that civilians can shoot as well as trained police officers in active shooter situations. Further, in the last few months, even trained professionals showed the risks of more guns in schools. For example, a teacher and law enforcement officer accidentally discharged a firearm in a California classroom, injuring one student. A school resource officer inadvertently discharged his gun in a Virginia school, and a school resource officer in Florida left his gun in a bathroom. Increasing the number of armed teachers in our schools will only lead to more of these incidents. Some will say this program is voluntary, but we know that school districts will see any funds that they are offered as an incentive to arm more people on school campuses. We urge Fort Worth ISD to continue evaluating school safety measures that do not include arming teachers and other school staff. We should reject calls to arm more educators and look for solutions to keeping our communities safe from gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Moss?
Thank you, President Jackson. Is that our last card? Thank you, President Jackson. I just wanted to give a shout out to Carlos. Carlos attends our equity meetings and rarely miss a meeting. And I just want to say thank you for being active and being a committee member of our equity committee.
Just so that everyone's aware, action items A through D have been removed from this evening's agenda. We will now recess and reconvene in the board conference room. You guys ready? In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 PM in the boardroom with a quorum present, recessed open session in the boardroom, and is now reconvened at 6:35 PM in open session in the board conference room with a quorum present. As board president, I'm making the following statement in accordance with board policy BBFA local. This is a reminder to all board members of the legal conflict of interest requirements and disclosure requirements you may have for matters under consideration on the agenda for this meeting. If required by law, board members shall recuse themselves from all discussion and shall abstain from voting on any matter pertaining to such a disclosure. Are there any questions on consent agenda items? Trustee Luébanos.
On page 156, where we're working with one of the charter schools, Uplift, I believe.
Yes, that is a leadership capacity development program where we're partnering with Uplift, and they're bringing in folks to work with their principals, and they're also working with our principals as well. So it's a partnership, and I believe Ms. Molinar can speak more specifically about that.
So the program is for more of our veteran principals. And it's really about their professional development and growing the capacity as they've entered into like a 5-year to beyond span of being in the principalship. And it's with other districts across the Metroplex. And SMU provides the professional development. And principals have to interview and be selected from a panel. And it's a collaboration with SMU through the Principal Impact Collaboration with some external partners such as Rainwater and the Miles Foundation.
And are we sending 2 principals?
We're sending 2 secondary principals and 1 elementary principal. It's a 2-year program, and this year we actually finished our first partnership with them, and we had 2 elementary principals completed.
So the cost will be 15,000, not 10,000?
Correct. It's per year.
So 5,000 per year.
Yes.
But the cost on the agenda is like 10,000. I wasn't sure it was 2 principals or 3.
It will be 3. It's supposed to be 3, 2 secondary and 1 elementary.
Okay. Thank you. 157.
We'll look at the.
157.
It's for 2 years, so it's $2,500 for the first year, $2,500 for the second year. I'm sorry. It is for 2 years, and it's $2,500 for the first year, $2,500 for the second year. So it's $5,000 per 2 years for each of the 3 principals. So $5,000 per person for the program.
3 people.
Yes, sir.
2 installments.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Needham? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Moss had her light on.
She can go ahead. No, go ahead.
Mine's just a little housekeeping. On the agenda, on item L, approve the minutes for the July 18th. We haven't quite had July yet. And that's supposed to read January 18th. And then on page 181, under strategic goal, that says select the strategic goal that applies. Is that supposed to say something like improve operational effectiveness and experiences?
I'm sorry, so on L, the typo is approved minutes from the January 18th?
Correct.
It says January on the backup information, so is it January, Art, on the agenda as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's January. I'm not sure how
Good.
it's listed as.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. On the agenda, it's listed incorrectly, correct.
And then, Mr. Cavazos, the page 181, we talked about the strategic goal that applies. I believe that also addresses the facilities.
That's for the minor boundary adjustment between Fort Worth ISD and Crowley ISD.
But underneath strategic goal, don't we put, I looked on another one, it said improve operational effectiveness and efficiency.
It'll definitely improve operational effectiveness and efficiency.
Instead of what's written right there.
I don't believe, what happened is, this is a form, and it's a drop-down form, and it just says select a strategic goal that applies, and the goal wasn't selected, because probably more than one goal applies.
So which goal would it be, Mr. Cavazos?
Certainly effectiveness and efficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Because we'll be able to build the school all within our school boundaries.
Thank you.
Trustee Moss?
Your turn, Ms. Moss.
Thank you for the clarifications.
Mine is about personnel, so I think I need to wait until executive session.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we're going to recess for executive session in the board conference room.
It hasn't hit me that I'm graduating yet.
You good? Oh, we're graduating. We're graduating.
Very good. Thank you.
The gold seal.
Once we get past graduation.
Holding their first ever graduation ceremonies are Young Men's Leadership Academy and Benbrook Middle High School.
I think it's going to go really well.
As you can see, that ceremony is about to get underway. And there's a lot that's special about our graduates, too. For one thing, district-wide, they earn more than $92 million in merit scholarships and grant offers. That's up from $36 million just 3 years ago. On top of that, they've got big plans.
I'll be at TCU in the fall on a full ride scholarship.
I'm going to UNT.
Tarleton and doing some photography.
I'll be attending Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. I want to major in mechanical engineering.
Definitely college.
But before they go anywhere, they've got to cross the stage. Let's join them.
Look at those smiles. You guys look great.
Every graduation is special, whether it's a school's first commencement or 112th graduation ceremony for Northside High School. This, the class of 2018. All year, our district has focused on pre-K, third grade reading, middle years math, the learning model for instruction, and the importance of equity across our system. Well, this is what all that work is about, sending our young men and women into the world prepared for college, career, and community leadership.
I think what I want to take from YMLA and all my brothers take from YMLA is a strong work ethic.
So no matter what grade you teach or what position you hold on campus, you've helped the class of 2018 reach this milestone.
You know, these young men have become my family over the last 6 years. I met these guys when they were all shorter than me, and now they're all taller than me.
And if you don't think our students appreciate you, think again.
Miss Gilbert.
How are you? I brought your yearbook.
Oh my goodness.
And remember that picture?
Wait, no. Oh, this is it. You finished?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
So proud of you, man.
I just loved him. He was a great student.
There was a lot of love shown at our ceremonies, and most of it directed to those most deserving, the moms, dads, and other loved ones committed to making this day happen. Our students said it best.
I would like to thank my parents.
For all to see and hear.
My parents, above all people, are the reason for my success.
I'm bawling. This is so sweet. Very proud.
I'm half excited, half sad.
I'm right there with you, parents. Our daughter Jackie graduated this year, too.
Please move your tassels from the right side to the left.
Congratulations. Well done. Have a great summer and a great rest of the journey.
This is your valedictorian signing off.
I'm beyond excited. I'm fighting back tears. I've had these kids since they walked in the door 4 years ago, and they have become my family.
Miss Reston did her best to assign you to a school that you went to. Whatever school you go to, you're going to have fun.
This is a new experience for me, walking down the elementary school, seeing all the kids.
I would hope they're thinking that they want to set a goal to be like us.
And they're going to be excited, and I'm going to be excited to see them so happy and so anxious to be where we're at.
If you have a number 1, you are going to Mr. Finley's bus. It's the first bus. Go!
Bus 1 is going to Sagamore Hill Elementary, Meadowbrook Elementary, and Eastern Hills Elementary.
The seniors go out and they're heroes. They're super action heroes to our students that will soon matriculate to graduation at Eastern Hills High School. Watch the high fives, the fist bumps. It's amazing.
Eastern Hills, I know that you guys are going to do great things. You guys are going to be wonderful. And we cannot wait for you guys to come back and bring it all the way back to Fort Worth here at Sagamore Elementary.
It's really cool and inspiring.
It was perfect. I'm happy seeing the kids smile.
have a happy life.
Thank you, seniors. Great job. It's a real motivation for you to be here. Thank you.
Business School!
I used to teach as a teacher assistant, and I used to help the kids, and I used to help the teachers. She was one of my teachers. So this is why you teach right here. This is why.
Oh, it was amazing. Seeing a little kid smile makes graduating worth it.
It was a trip down memory lane.
It's the best day of the year.
JROTC in Philadelphia!
In the American Revolution, there was the militia, there was the redcoats, there were French, there were also Native Americans, there was also slaves that were more a part of our revolution than just what is put in the textbooks.
July 4, 1776, Congress issues the Declaration of Independence.
I've learned more about the American history, more about the lives of the people.
People that did not physically fight in the war were just as equally impacted by the American Revolution.
At last, the British surrender.
Today was super fantastic, right? That was amazing stuff.
You kind of opened your eyes to a lot of things. The entire day did.
I know I got to come back. There's so much that I didn't know about the American Revolution, and there's so much more to learn.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
Now, during the Constitutional Convention, there was a lot of discussion about the executive branch.
I really think it's a good idea to learn from history because you can learn from the past.
First thing Congress did in 1789 while they're meeting in New York City is to craft 12 articles.
It was kind of hard to believe that you were actually sitting in the building. Like you didn't think it was real, but you were literally sitting in these seats where they just made all these big decisions out of nowhere that started our country.
I just found it really interesting, all the history behind that one bell and how much it meant to us.
7 words that really describe today is America, rights, life, freedom, pursuit, happiness, and unified.
We the people do not make history, we are made by history.
JROTC in Valley Forge!
And on December 19, 1777, the Army moved to winter quarters and began building their camp.
Setting up these 12,000 men on these lands, what they call military streets.
For the men of the Army, building the huts was a welcome relief. Tools were scarce and timber had to be dragged to the hut site.
Each one of these huts for the enlisted men would hold a squad, and that's about 12 men.
Today I learned that Valley Forge was legit the birthplace of the Army, which was very interesting.
The experience for me visiting Valley Forge was, it gave me a sense of patriotism and pride for my country.
He rents this out. It was actually a business residence that he rents out for about 6 months. And he has a rather large staff here, a military family that consists of about 20 to 25 people at any given time. So for that reason, he thought this was too confining as a headquarters for the Continental Army.
Bound by determination and training, a renewed Continental Army had taken the field with a spirit strengthened at Valley Forge. A spirit that would carry Washington's seasoned veterans 3 more years to victory at Yorktown in 1781 and beyond.
There are 4 military junior colleges in the nation, you might have heard. This is one of them.
My job is to prepare them for college, but it's also to get them into college. And this is an opportunity to do that for a selected number of cadets out of Fort Worth ISD.
The building that you just came out of, that is Mettenbach Hall. So Mettenbach Hall services our college admissions and our financial aid.
In the next phase of your life, when you go on to college,
Choose a place that's going to challenge you. Choose a place that's going to keep you on your toes. Don't look for the easy out.
Once in a lifetime opportunity to talk to a general and to share with them their ambitions, and at the same time he's sharing with them his challenges as the president of his alma mater, Valley Forge Military Academy and College.
So we got some cadets from Fort Worth here. They're asking questions about your team.
Okay. We have 2 different color guards. We have both an academy one as well as a college one.
Going to a military academy helps me keep an open mind to what I want in my future.
All right, as you know, just keep your voices low and just follow us right in.
JROTC in Gettysburg Battlefield!
You're going to see the entire war unfold, or the portion of Gettysburg unfold before you.
So Lincoln was elected, and he posed such a threat to the slave interest in the South that only 1 month later, they seceded. And they told Abraham Lincoln that he needed to get all of his soldiers out of Fort Sumter. And Abraham Lincoln said, I'm sorry, that's a U.S. military base. They're not going anywhere. They're protecting that harbor. Well, South Carolina opened fire, and this war began.
So far, it's been pretty interesting.
The Battle of Gettysburg lasted 3 days.
Because I didn't really know a lot about what the citizens went through at Gettysburg.
I would very much like to go up into the National Cemetery. I have haversacks in there, and inside these haversacks are different items a soldier would have carried, and we are trying to have them try to identify who would have carried that haversack by examining the contents of their haversack.
It looks like we have possible Union soldier by the name of Payne from the 20th Massachusetts.
We think he's an immigrant because he has an English grammar book.
Pliny White, and what did you find in there?
A ring. He was married.
He would write letters.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of letters. One thing we discover about these Civil War soldiers is they wrote home often. They were homesick.
Sumner Payne turned 16 years old 1 month after the Civil War began in 1861.
Sergeant Philip R. Hamlin was deeply religious and philosophical young man who wrote proficiently to his parents and younger siblings.
Every time I read about Gettysburg or something like that, it was always about soldiers. And this time it was more concentrated about other people's lives that were affected by it.
I'd love to just turn the clock back and be there and just see what's going on. But a lot of times I would turn around and look at you guys and I'd imagine you in the Union blue and turn you into somebody else to try to put perspective on where you were at different places on the battlefield or at the cemetery or whatever. I was trying to really be there, really feel that experience.
77 years ago.
Where Abraham Lincoln stayed in that house, where his writing was, that really amazed me.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
JROTC in DC!
The United States Holocaust Museum is a deeply moving experience for any human being that goes through it. And to walk through it today with our students was especially meaningful to me.
I am amazed of how powerful and how this even happened, and no one really was there to stop it.
And just thinking that kids our age went through this, it's very sad.
Today we asked a lot of why. Why did this happen? Why did people go along with it? Why?
These people really fought for their freedom and liberty, and they made sure that that irony behind it disappeared and it was to be fully executed in American society.
Harlem Hellfighters, that was a very prestigious regiment back then for the African Americans, and I think that they were just heroes beyond heroes.
And opened my eyes to how bad slavery and segregation was, but together we can make things better.
I just feel privileged and just very honored, and I owe that all to them.
I set this up for you. We live in fame, we go down in flames. Hey, United States Army Air Force! Does anybody know how many Americans died in Vietnam? 58,000.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
I see a big statue of Martin Luther King, and it's kind of interesting because he has like papers in his hand, so I'm kind of curious as to what that is.
I think the paper could represent a speech or a sermon.
I think it was a really nice experience. Never had anything like this before. It touched me.
Good morning and welcome to the 3rd annual Fort Worth ISD Battle of the Books. Teams will have 10 seconds to determine the answer. In which book does a general manager show that he is not afraid of change? And the correct answer is The Princess and the Warrior.
Yes! To be on the teams, you have to read 8 books. From a variety of genres. We have new books every year, lots of award winners, nonfiction and fiction.
We are so proud of you. You rock. And the correct answer is teammates.
Yes! We love students for one thing, and we love that we are working with Fort Worth ISD and their students and reading, literacy.
Our winner of the high school 2018 Battle of the Books competition from Spinbrook High School.
This is for all students, and we encourage everybody to participate.
Team Days of Valley Elementary, please remain standing. You will be going to sudden death against Westcliff Elementary. And the correct answer is, I survived the Nazi invasion in 1944. Daysavola Elementary 4th grade team is the Fort Worth ISD District Battle of the Books champions.
We won. All these people were saying that we couldn't win, that we wouldn't be able to do it, and we eventually actually did do it. She's She's very kind. She helps us find books. She helps us read. She reads books that I like.
That is a good book.
Success in my classroom, which is a library, is every student, regardless of level or even language skill, is involved and interested in what is going on. Kids come in and check out while I'm doing lessons, and lessons are either reading out loud or doing research skills with older students. I love being a school librarian because I get to influence these children. I take a lot of interest in them and I talk to them. Their lives are interesting to me. I don't talk down to them.
Awesome.
I do things that are fun. I get to expand their horizons, and that is a lifetime thing. And that's a pretty awesome responsibility.
L. Okay, so try it here.
I love it. I would not do anything else.
She's so smart. She's nice. She teaches us every day. She's silly.
They better say something besides she takes us to recess.
She gave us a bonus recess yesterday.
All right, y'all are good. My ultimate goal is to create lifelong learners.
I know.
That's what you're going to see students out of their seats, working in groups, working in partners, talking. They need to know how to communicate, how to build relationships, how to problem solve. You want the students to have ownership over their own learning. I don't want to be feeding them their knowledge. I want them to learn how to go out and get it for themselves. I measure success at the end of the day if the students are excited, if they want to continue the lesson, if they want to go home and talk about it over dinner. One of my students wrote me this letter, and she wrote, I just love you, Miss Ruth. I know you love us too. I never intended to be a teacher, but I immediately realized that that's what I was meant to do. I've tried office jobs, I hate them.
He's just really, really, really good at being a teacher. He teaches us respect. He makes it easy and fun to learn. He engages fun and learning together.
Go ahead and get started in the hallway.
Success in my classroom is students working with purpose, enjoying what they're doing. They understand what good work looks like. They're confident in what they know, and they're unafraid of what they don't know. I try to set up lessons where students can apply the skills that they've been learning in context of collaboration. Once they're working in collaborative settings like that, they don't see the work so much as an assigned task. My role also changes from being the lead instructor to a facilitator, and there's really nothing more gratifying than when you say, okay, it's time to clean up, and you have 24th graders say, no! And after some of those days where they've really enjoyed their learning, they force me to stand there and give me a fist bump back and say, tell me, good job.
It must be a good book if you're reading it while you're walking.
It's what I have always done best and what I love the most.
She'll tell you that don't just give up, you have to try. She really listens to us, helps us have a good heart. She's strict, but she's fair.
Give me some other words.
Children being engaged with their learning, participating with each other, communicating creatively, everyone taking ownership. That's what learning looks like in my classroom.
So we're going to talk about Eleanor Roosevelt.
I love being a teacher. This is my 28th year, and what brings me great joy is in their sparkle in their eye, them deciding to say, oh, I am learning something. Oh, I now know something. Now I know concrete information. And then they can have their own commentaries about it.
She gives us factual information every single time.
It is exciting to see their learning. It is exciting to see them want more. There are times that they've asked, can we stay after school?
Now we get to do fun activities. She's amazing. The dancer room is fabulous.
You did this all yourself. What does
My students fall all over the data charts. One student in particular comes up to me and shows me his work, and he says, look, Mrs. Behringer, I did it. And I look up at him, and he is grinning from ear to ear. And I look back down at him and say, yes, you did do it. And he puts his arms around me and he says, that's because I'm smart. That's what success looks like to me. I build that trust in those relationships with my students so that they know their voice is so very important every single day they walk in that classroom. It's my responsibility to bring them to their level of success. When they can all work together and then achieve that success and solve that problem together, their excitement is just priceless. They know that they can trust me, they know that I love them, and they know that they are respected as the person that they are.
You love us and take care of us.
I do love you and I take care of you.
I absolutely love being a teacher. I know I'm exactly where I need to be.
I think he's one of the best teachers I've ever had.
I know that he's dedicated to his job.
You can just see how much he loves his job.
He's just a good teacher. He jazzes it up.
This is the business cycle stance. Success in an ideal day for a teacher is not actually even that everything is going swimmingly.
Peak, recession, trough.
It's a collection of good moments. Every week in AP Government, we have a class debate. The topic itself sets out the challenge for the students. Here is a problem that we are going to think about and do research on. That's where the collaboration comes into play because they have to work as a team. There's obviously a communication element. Their peers are ultimately the ones who judge whether they've done a great job presenting one side of an issue or not. I really want them to feel like they put in the effort, and Mr. Smith does too. Their hopes and dreams to some extent become your hopes and dreams. So it took me a while to figure out that being in front of students was really important.
In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present, recessed and reconvened open session in the board conference room, adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session, now reconvened open session at 7:16 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present. We're on number 13 of the agenda, accept consent agenda. Do I have a motion accepting our consent agenda for this evening? Trustee Luebanos, seconded by Trustee Moss. Please move to voting. And the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to action item 14B, personnel. Do I have a motion, Dr. Sims?
I move to approve appointments discussed in executive session.
Moved by Dr. Sims, seconded by Trustee Luebanos. Any discussion? Seeing, hearing none, please move to voting. And the motion passes unanimously. Dr. Scribner?
Thank you very much, President Jackson, members of the board. We are very excited tonight to welcome two new members to Fort Worth ISD's administrative team. First is the Director of Safety and Security. The board has approved the appointment of Daniel Garcia as the Director of Safety and Security. He served for 25 years in the Fort Worth Police Department, most recently as the former Assistant Chief of Police for Fort Worth PD. We are excited that he will continue serving us. Right now he's serving in a interim role, and the board's action makes that permanent. He is unable to be here tonight as he is a first-time brand new grandfather. So he's home with his daughter and his granddaughter with the baby girl. So we gave him the night off, and we're excited to see him serving our district in a greater capacity. Also tonight, we are excited that the board has approved our new Executive Director of Athletics. We are pleased that Mr. Todd Veasley will assume duties as Head of Athletics in Fort Worth ISD. He had been serving as the Executive Director for Athletics in Ector County Independent School District in Odessa. He's an accomplished administrator with over 20 years of coaching experience and an impressive list of accomplishments, and Mr. Veasley is here with us tonight. Let's give him a round of applause. Would you like to introduce your guests?
Oh, it's a pleasure, a pleasure. First, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking a risk on me, and just incredibly excited to be a part of an incredible city and a great school district with a great reputation, so I appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to introduce my far better half, Ms. Tassie Miller, and she's going to be joining me just as soon as she can.
Welcome to Fort Worth.
Since we've removed items A through D, we'll move on to comments by board members. Any comments? Trustee Ramos.
I don't want to prolong us being here, but I do want to give some love to the Racial and Ethnic Equity Division Department. Got to check out the MBK suit up, wonderful images, and you know I'm biased because my middle son is in the magazine as well. Good job.
Thank you. Trustee Moss.
You, President Jackson. Mr. Ramos stole my thunder, but that's okay. What I'll do is just shout out to some of the persons involved. Mr. Ramos with my brother's keeper, Ashley Paz, Mr. Robbins, Miss Breed, Mr. Moore, Barbara Grover. I don't think she's here. I see Sean sitting in the back. But I just want to say thank you because we have worked so diligently with the young men to get them to this point. Mr. Clark is not here, but I've heard so many positive comments about the ceremony, the stole ceremony. And I just want to say thank you. I have a pen. Can you see that? This is a My Brother's Keeper pen, and we were presented this at the ceremony. So we do have other pens for those that were not in attendance. Miss Ashley, Miss Paws, and but anyway, I am just so proud of the young men in this book. And you talk about behavior issues that's diminished, or how do you say that? When we did we do a study about we have less behavior issues in our schools. So I think this is a great program, and I'm really waiting to see when we will start in middle school, because we should really start in middle school, so that when our young men reach high school, we will not have those behavior issues. So again, my hat's off to the board for allowing us to have My Brother's Keeper and allocating the dollars for that. But each young man, Mr. Ramos, you need to tell them about the suits, each young man. Sure. Since you're a male.
Well, since I'm a male, but this actually began to update everyone with, I had taken my 2 older sons to get fitted for a suit some 3 years ago. And I'd visited with community leaders and foundations here in Fort Worth, Texas, and I described to them what a feeling it was for me to have a privilege and watch my sons get measured for a suit. And so that's why I'm really drawn to this page right here, where it shows all the other boys in Fort Worth ISD that are now getting being afforded that opportunity and the privilege to get fitted for a suit, to put it on. It's just something that happens to a young male that gets an opportunity to put on a suit and a tie, a pocket square, shoes. It's transformative, no doubt, but we learned some lessons as a district and realized that the boys ought to be built up from the inside out first.
Yes.
And so it's been powerful to watch the work that's transpired over the years, to see the boys get fitted for a suit, get in a suit. And then the Stoles is a whole nother flavor. Yes. I think we've got some envy from some of our colleagues around the state and the country who saw that the Stoles that the boys were wearing, that were referencing their heritage, and that a school district is acknowledging the significance that plays in a young person's role. So they're walking out pretty woke, and they're ready to do what we keep saying, the woke work out in the real world. Carlos already left, but Carlos is one of those young men that's going to be getting in the mix with this as well. So thank you, board, for supporting us in this hard work.
And for me, I think when I heard a couple of the young men make the statement that they had never worn a suit before because they had never owned and were not financially able to have a suit. So for me, that was great. I think we did a good job. So.
Well, thank you all, and there couldn't be a better note to adjourn on.